just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. Besides being your host, my name is Joe Fox. I'm the VP of Partnerships at Reviews.io. Thank you again for joining us at this event. Today, you'll be hearing from some of the best around driving the ultimate customer experience. And just to let everyone know too, we've got $250 Rip Curl vouchers that we'll be giving away. In order to be eligible to win, just drop in the chat what your best and latest customer experience was. And please make sure you name the brand, and we'll hand those out at the very end. But in saying that, I'm going to hand over to the panelists to introduce themselves.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Massey, Head of APAC for SearchSpring. At SearchSpring, we power search, merchandising, and personalization solutions, both leading and emerging brands, of which it's really great to have one of our clients, Dan from Rip Curl, here today as well.
Great. I'm Ivana from Lexer. At Lexer, we're a customer data platform, and we also have Rip Curl as a client as well. So I'm looking forward to our session today.
Good. Hey guys, and I'm Dan McIean. I'm the ANZ Ecom Manager here at Rip Curl. And Rip Curl is the ultimate surfing company, and I've got the pleasure of driving our online business here. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And Dan, so I'd love to know a little bit just about how you've navigated through the past few years, a little bit about the Rip Curl story. I mean, you guys are one of the most recognized and trusted brands in the world. So yeah, I'd love to know what customer experience means to Rip Curl, hear a little bit about the Rip Curl story, and specifically, obviously you can give some examples on how to drive the ultimate customer experience.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Joe. So I guess Rip Curl has reaped the benefits. COVID's been a bit of a hard time in general, but I guess customers for us were able to immerse themselves in nature more so than ever. With the onset of lockdowns, all of a sudden there was no kids sport on the weekend. You couldn't go overseas on holidays. And I guess it was frustrating for everyone. But after a little while here in Australia, we realized how blessed we are with what's in our backyard. So like the oceans, the mountains, and the capacity for people to live the search, which is one of our core values here at Rip Curl, became more accessible than ever with work from home arrangements and people relocating down the coast. So that was like, I guess, what worked in our favor, but it still wasn't easy because our business has really been built on a wholesale model. So, you go down to any surf store and you can see Rip Curl in there. And our systems and structure wasn't very ecom centric. So the whole ecom space has really been a constant area of change where we've needed to adapt to meet our customer needs, regardless of the channel that they want to shop at the given time. So thankfully we did adapt as needed, and we continue to do so to see really strong results like we've seen over the past few years now. I think so that's I guess what we've been doing to help drive the customer experience, adapt to meet their needs in whichever way they want to shop.
For sure. And I think, just to quote a bit of a stat here, I think you guys experienced an 86% sales boost from August 2020 to January 2021. So I guess that really highlights what you were talking about around people really getting outside and exploring their own backyards, which is awesome. And obviously everything that you guys are implementing is working. So that's really cool to hear. I'm going to pass over to you, Kate. I mean, obviously there's been such a boom in e-commerce. Everything's trending upwards. I mean, businesses like Amazon are just absolutely scaling to the moon with warehousing and all sorts of things. And as that space is continuing to grow, and I guess we all know it because we live and breathe it and work in it, but how do SMBs and hobbyists who are entering the e-commerce space improve that customer experience? How do they improve that shopping experience when they don't necessarily have a bricks and mortar store?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to start with the customer in mind. So no retailer is the same. I'm really starting to understand what are those moments that matter. Like I ordered my contacts online the other day, loved my little gummy bears. I think Adore Beauty has an amazing loyalty program, but I also love the Tim Tams that you get in your package as well. Some of our emerging customers are like Active Truth and the Upside. I've received like really nice handwritten notes, and I think that's a really nice way to make that customer feel really special. And I think it's really looking at what typically triggers questions. So if you've got lots of questions coming through online, or if you do have a traditional retail store as well, what are those questions that shop assistants typically answer? Or if you've got products being returned, why is that? Is it due to sizing? And can you make your fit guide and size guide a lot more present on the site? So you can help use different ways to communicate throughout the online shopping journey of what you'd typically expect from a kind of shop assistant in store. So an example of that is West Elm, one of our clients. They had a lot of shoppers would typically look online and go in store. And during COVID, shoppers started to actually transact on store. And so they use inline banner function to talk about their design services, what they typically get offered by a shop assistant. They're now highlighting that as you kind of click through and look at their different products and categories on site. And I think like recently I purchased from 2 different shopping fashion brands, and one stood out as a really seamless experience, whereas the other one took a lot longer to have the product. And I was almost at the stage of reaching out to the customer service team to find out where my order was, because I wasn't getting those regular shipping updates. Whereas the seamless shopping experience, I purchased a dress from St. Frock, super easy to find products and cut products down on their site. So using their filters, I knew what I had in mind, went to their dresses collection, used their advanced filters, looked at long sleeve options, quickly found their best sellers, which are highlighted through badging. The checkout experience was super seamless, but then I got regular kind of delivery updates, and it felt like as soon as I placed the order, I was pretty much getting that order delivered really seamlessly, really quickly. And then I also, in the package, had a discount for my next product that I wanted to purchase. And now I've got my eye on that. So I think that was just a really nice experience all the way through. And I think it's really important to step through that online shopping journey as a shopper and see, are there friction points, and is there a way to kind of make those products more discoverable. Merchandising in store has been a key component for retail for a long time. And I think it's now really starting to get the focus for e-commerce as well. So I have not once in the last 20 months of being at SearchSpring met an e-commerce manager that doesn't believe their team is really lean, or they're keeping up with all the priorities that they have on. And so being able to let technology do more of the heavy lifting, utilizing that AI, machine learning, that shopper behavior, what other shoppers are doing, to do that heavy lifting in elevating those right products to the right shopper at the right time. So typically, what are we looking for? It's things like those in stock, good stock availability, good size curve availability, best sellers, new collections, and top review products. That's what we want to make as easy as possible to find for the shopper when they are going through that checkout experience.
For sure. And I'm super interested to see if the audience suggest the brand that you had a really good experience with too. And I think after the chat, I'm curious, because I think it's the same shopper that I've had an experience with. So that's perfect. But I might pass that on to you, Ivana, too. It's like, can you tell me a little bit about how your clients drive that great customer experience, both online and in store?
Yeah, for us, it all starts with really understanding your customer. And we do that specifically through data. So for customers who buys products specifically online, for example, compared to just in-store only, they can have different buying patterns, but they can also buy different types of products as well. So understanding that can really help unlock opportunities and really understand the best way to engage different types of customers. So for example, if we know customers are buying, certain types of products online, then we can adjust looking at the product, whether we need to adjust the free shipping threshold to account for that, but also their overall on-site experience for new customers or returning customers as well, based on what they're commonly purchasing for those specific types of customers. And then overall, that can really help grow their sort of basket size and overall experience as well. Online. And then for our in-store customer, a lot of our clients are using third-party data enrichment. So Experian is an example of that, and it allows our customers to fully understand the demographic of their customers who are living in the store's local area. This really informs sort of things like their family makeup, how old they are, and the type of disposable income as well of people living in that local store area. So they can make informed decisions on their buying and planning and merchandising as well, and inform the type of products that they can stock in those specific stores as well. So an example for perhaps like Rip Curl, if they know that there's a lot of customers in the area that have young families, you can start stocking more sort of kids wetsuit or kids products in that local store area to help with issues with stocks moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And that's super insightful. And I guess Dan, I'd love to get your thoughts. I mean, obviously, you're using a lot of this tech stack and everything like that. So I'd love to know, what are Rip Curl doing and what methods are you using to ensure that sort of seamless end-to-end experience from your side?
Yeah, 100%. So it's great to hear our partners who we already work with and to hear the other side of the equation. But I know for us specifically, say with the whole end-to-end experience, it obviously starts with search functionality and merchandising. So we use SearchSpring a lot for that, and they do a great job, and it makes our life a lot easier. We've come from a previous platform which we couldn't use that, and going from that to this is just a whole world of difference. And so we're always trying to implement changes, and we're learning how to utilize the system more and more. But it helps us merchandise our pages. We can put boost rules on there that we can set and tweak. We can also curate our search terms so that you can have synonyms come up, so that there's no zero search results ever coming through. We're wasting people's, we're missing that opportunity. We never want to miss those opportunities. We can also curate what they want to see. We can make collections, and from there we can try and make the experience from there through to checkout as frictionless as possible. And this is something that we're always working on, but we've definitely come a long way. And so just to give you one example, for example, wetsuits. So we might have obviously there's different thicknesses of wetsuits. So if somebody is in a given location, you could merchandise that based on their thickness. Then we can also set based on the time of year. So right now we're still in kind of the end of the winter kind of season for us, mostly. Yep. So we could boost our winter collection, which is called Flash Bombs, to the top. And then we could boost our E-Bombs, which is our more summer ones under them. We could then do other boost rules such as days old, so our newer ones are first. We could do in stock or based on stock levels. Then we could sort by thickness based on the weather. Entry systems, our zip free is our more premium ones. And then GA, you can do subsort. So it can then subsort based on your Google Analytics revenue, so that all of our best sellers come to the top based on those other fundamental boost rules. So it's become very, very useful, and you can do that by region and by site. And it can work in a whole lot of ways. So that's one way that we try to work through a seamless end-to-end experience. Yeah,
for sure. And I guess it's super interesting, like being able to hear that from us providers, as well as hearing that from the merchant around how that works on both sides of things. So that's really cool. And I guess going back, to kind of the omni-channel side of things, obviously, if someone's shopping, they walk into a store, there's a staff member there who's extremely friendly, extremely helpful. That's very beneficial. But as we sort of touched on earlier, there's a lot of retailers who aren't omni-channel. They don't have a bricks and mortar presence, but they're really relying on the e-commerce side of things. Kate, I'd love to sort of know from you how retailers can sort of bridge that gap if they don't have the luxury of having a staff member and someone shopping purely online.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to add on to what Dan was saying, like Rip Curl are a global brand, have lots of domains around the world, and being able to have that layer of automation and optimization happening rather than having to have those individual people going in and trying to self-merchandise each store individually, and being able to work off those rules is super key. Our customer success lead, Jacinda, has actually come from 2XU, and we were talking a couple of weeks back about how she could rely on SearchSpring to do the heavy lifting, and she could go to sleep on Black Friday and know that anything that sells out is elevating itself down in demoting itself down in the results. And she was sleeping a lot better during those days as opposed to previously when there was a lot of lost sleep during Black Friday. But on the bridging that gap, so I think being able to really look at those different stages on the website. So if we're on the actual product listing pages, being able to incorporate things like inline banners to communicate whether it's those top collections or the brand story or shipping or returns or fit guides. So those inline banners can be really used and are starting to be used a lot more throughout the site. So not just relying on the About Us pages, the brand pages, the shipping pages, or the home page, but then also looking at badging. So I think badging is great for talking about if you're in store, you know if something is low stock and you should purchase it now, versus being able to have on a badge whether something is last chance or low stock or a new product or a best-selling product or a top review product. Really starting to look at what are those badges so you can communicate when you're looking at a page that might have 50 products on it. How do I kind of determine which one that I should be kind of adding to cart and ultimately checking out on? I think bed threads do a really great experience from the search bar autocomplete of incorporating content. So they're from the journal content as a really like making that relevant searchable content to the search term. So if you're searching for sheets, then you can navigate through all of their blogs on their sheets. So very relevant, but a really nice experience between having that educational content for those shoppers that do want to understand more about the product. It's a premium product. So I think they do it really well. And I think reviews is a key part of that as well. So take when I'm buying pet food from Petstock, for example. So when it comes to the actual brand of food for my darling King Charles Bain, he gets Royal Canin. I know exactly what I want. I want to find that as quickly as possible. But then I'm the perfect shopper to upsell to. But I want to find the treats and the toys that are those bestsellers or top reviewed. I'm not a price conscious shopper when it comes to buying the treats or the toys. I do want those bestsellers and those top review products. And I think when I then go across and look at the fashion brands that I frequently shop at, I want to see what's new, not the bestsellers that I've seen lots of times before. So I think really understanding those different shoppers and the different types of products that they're looking for, and whether they're browsing around on site or whether they're wanting to get straight to that product and check out quickly on. And I think then really looking at A/B testing to say, well, we think these are the messages that work and connect best with our shoppers, but A/B testing those different strategies to really see what starts to convert as well.
For sure. And so did you want to give a little bit more insight into that side of things as well, Dan? Because obviously, I mean, we have sort of touched on that, but love to get a little bit more insight into that from you as well.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I guess it is a challenge that we continually always work to improve as well. But I guess the classic example that comes to mind is a promo product. Like, you know, when you go in a store, I used to work in stores as a teenager and a young adult, and then you know, you get judged based on how hard are you pushing to get the add-on products. And that's something that when I come into e-commerce, I realized that was really hard to do, to match in stores. these add-on, purchase with purchase kind of offers. And it's taken a bit of working to get these things into play to be this kind of unified commerce kind of, entity. But we've built in a promo mechanic into our website now so that you'll have a mini cart and you can see where you're up to. Have you qualified for free shipping? And then if you spend a little bit more, have you qualified for that promo at that threshold? And then when you do hit that threshold, it'll pop up now and say, do you want to add this drink bottle for $15 instead of 30 or whatever it is, or a towel for free if you go over this price or whatever. And those promo mechanics have, it's a massive increase that we've seen, huge. So that's another way that we can kind of bridge the gap between that physical and online experience, where in the past it's been a bit harder. And the ability to also merchandise and curate search terms to give the customer the highest chance of finding what they're looking for as well, because you don't have the luxury of them being able to ask a staff member, where's this top, or where's this pant or wetsuit or whatever. So we need to be able to show them what they're looking for before they bounce.
For sure. And I just wanted to, on that note, while we're talking about omnichannel, I'm just going to remind everyone to make sure that they drop their best customer experience in, and you'll be able to use those vouchers either in store or online as you choose. So please don't forget to do that. But I guess on that note, and it's probably an unavoidable topic, and we've touched on it a couple of times, but now that lockdowns are sort of gone, and major restrictions are over, and Kate, I sort of wanted to gather your insights around this. Obviously, we're seeing this big, kind of I wouldn't say it's a big shift, because people are having the luxury of utilizing e-commerce more, but we're starting to see this shift where people may not necessarily want to wait for a product to be shipped. They might want to be able to click and collect, and avoid avoid necessarily having to wait for something, and they want to be able to get it in their hands right now. Obviously, that can sort of result in dropouts or disruptions in stats around abandoned cart rates, etc. I'd love to know a little bit more, and you've touched on it, but really specifically how brands can sort of streamline that checkout process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we could talk attribution and data all day, and I have a separate webinar for that. It is really tricky, and especially you have retail store managers, they have their goals and their targets, and e-commerce managers have their goals and their targets. And we work with some brands that are very happy to have shoppers looking online and driving them into store, and they don't mind where they convert, but it is very challenging then for the e-commerce managers that have those conversion goals and revenue goals, and then the in-store, and so it's looking at how do we kind of bridge those friction points of two competing strategies. And I think click and collect does really help with that. So I think it really will come down to the actual retailer, and if they have in store, what is their strategy, and getting really clear on that strategy first and foremost, between that online and in store, because I think more and more people are going back to store, and so it's an important piece of the puzzle. And I think loyalty programs can really help with that and understanding the data. So I think e-commerce absolutely has its place, and shoppers will maybe even if they're purchasing for the first time with a brand, they might want to go in store and try it on and find their size, but then they want to transact conveniently e-commerce moving forward, and really understanding those different shoppers and the life cycle and stages of those shoppers. But I also think that really, how can you take away those friction points on site and build that confidence up? And I think that's where reviews plays a super important part. So reviews, having a very clearly laid out PDP with the right information that shoppers are actually looking for to build that actual confidence in getting them across the line to that checkout. And then I think things like looking at the data, what is triggering any returns or any support queries, on what are those questions that are coming up that you can start to kind of answer on the front foot before waiting for those questions to actually come in. And I think one of the really simple examples there is things like fit guides. We have a shopper that has a jeans category, and so they actually have like a guided quiz on finding the right pairs of jeans. When you land on the results, they use inline banners to talk about their size guides and the fit guides. And so I think really kind of helping kind of take away some of those things that would stop you from actually getting across the line and checking out. We would say, make sure it's not a really busy, it's very nice to upsell at the checkout level. And we see some brands do it really well, but we also don't want to confuse the process and actually stop them from taking action as well. I think having the different payment options is super important, but sometimes there can be too many options again, and it can become all too overwhelming. And then I think we also just announced our Klaviyo integration as well for being able to take what they're doing. So if they're searching for something and they do drop off, being able to communicate with them to try and get them back onto that buyer's journey as well. And there's been a lot of real interest in that. So really kind of focusing, if they stop checking out, how do we try and get them back onto that buyer's journey? And then if they do check out, how do we get them coming back to site again and again through effective kind of strategies as well?
Yeah, definitely. And Dan, I'd love to, sort of get your thoughts around that changing shopping behavior. Obviously, you would have seen a lot of trends, a lot of data, particularly within Rip Curl. What do you think we're going to see more of as we head into peak sales season? I mean, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of those events are sort of just around the corner. Peak gifting season, all of those sorts of things are coming up. And, I'm sure that everyone who's watching would love to hear some insights from you around that and what you're expecting to see with that sort of online versus in-store versus a combination of both through omnichannel.
100%. So like what's been really obvious to us recently, and I believe we're not alone here, because I've talked to a lot of people that are in similar positions, is that that trend of customers really they are wanting to go back into stores post lockdowns. And this can hurt online conversion, but I guess to think about it holistically, if you're an omnichannel business like us, it can help the overall business as much as it can be painful for me personally. So the focus there can be assisted conversions, which can be measured in Google. Or we can try to present the brand message as well as possible to ensure that when the customer is online doing research to buy in store, they can find everything they need, like you say, on the PDPs to reassure them of their purchase before they do so. And I think, the final piece of that puzzle there is really integrating all systems between channels, like we talked about at the start, to be focusing how we can to be an online kind of like unified commerce, like wherever you want to shop by channel, all the systems need to be able to talk to each other. And I think that's a bit of a scramble for a lot of businesses at the moment to try and get all of our systems to speak. So I think, the trend that I'm expecting and has already obviously been happening a lot is going towards click and collect, ship from stores, find in stores, all these kinds of things will be more and more important heading into peak, I believe, and will create a more and more seamless experience. That's what I foresee so far.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there, Dan. And I mean, speaking of omni-channel, obviously we've got Lexer here, we've got Ivana here. Ivana, I'd really, love to get a little bit more of an understanding around how you help customers, in particular like Rip Curl, actually track that omni-channel experience and ensure they've got full visibility over that journey.
Yeah, and to sort of what Dan was saying before, trying to organize your data and just trying to create a unified profile is something that can be quite challenging. And for us at Lexer, there's a few key challenges that we try to address, and capturing that in-store data is a really important component of that, because you're not just seeing a portion of the customer journey, but you're seeing their overall shopping journey, both online and also in store. And so for, Kate mentioned earlier, for some clients, they use loyalty program to capture more data, and membership pricing is a great example of that, for people to capture more data in store. And Lexer actually collects that information and are able to unify both their offline data, but also their online data as well, to create a single customer profile, and to just understand as an individual, as a customer, what's the overall, customer lifetime value as a customer. And another key challenge that we try to address as well is how well, is your digital marketing campaigns performing? We can understand in store how well that's performing, but understanding that offline sale is a really difficult challenge. And Lexer, we have an API tool essentially that allows you to push that offline customer data back onto Facebook or Google to just really understand the overall impact of their paid media strategy. And you can also optimize as well based on which channel is performing. And we found that through that, there's a large sort of transparency across both online and in store. And we also found that there's actually a high number of revenue sort of being driven in store after the digital marketing campaigns. So it's a really important tool to be able to get that full transparency across all channels.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in that regard, and I mean, you touched on it, Ivana, Kate, you certainly touched on it in terms of reviews playing a big part of, driving omni-channel, whether it's in store or whether it's e-commerce specific or a combination of the two with omni-channel. And obviously, Kate, we've got quite a few clients that take advantage of that SearchSpring and Reviews.io integration. Coco Black being a good example of that. I'd love to sort of know from your side of things. Obviously, typically we see an increase in in-store visits, online sales, increased AOV with, user-generated content and reviews. But I'd love to know a little bit more specifically around that integration and what your thoughts are, and how, it helps with those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that top review products typically convert really well, right? So there's good stock availability and size curve availability and all the other things that go into conversions, but on the whole, top review products convert well. So we want to help shoppers find those top review products as easy as possible. So do we have the ability to sort on top review products? Do we have the ability to filter down to the 4 or 5 star review products? And then are we elevating automatically top review products to the top of our results through merchandising strategies? So and we know that can all drive conversions. So let's make those products as findable as possible, and let's automate that as much as possible as well. And I think where it really kind of adds that conversion is, as we touched on before, is building that confidence so that the shoppers are comfortable in purchasing, and then likely to buy more as well at the same time. I think those top review products are also less inclined to be those discounted products as well. So which all goes into having a nice healthy AOV too. So let's get those great products that sell really well that we don't need to discount, and make them as easy as possible for shoppers to get to and navigate. And I think having a really good review strategy is part of that. So how are we collecting reviews? How are we encouraging reviews? And it's great to see all the examples coming through in the chat of how brands have been getting those reviews to be coming through to help other shoppers navigate to those products and ultimately buy more.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess following on from that, Kate, it's like a large part of what SearchSpring offers is that personalization and those recommendations. How does SearchSpring make those right recommendations to their shoppers?
Yeah, absolutely. So with personalization, we cover that in 3 core areas. So the first one being personalized search and personalized category merchandising. So if you're a retailer stocking lots of brands, and me as a shopper, I'm searching around and looking at a specific brand, showing more from that brand as we go through the search results, or the collections. If I'm shopping for furniture and I'm shopping for dining room furniture this time, showing me more of that dining room collection as I click around inside. And that's all want to be driven on AI, machine learning, shopper behavior. What have other shoppers that have looked at these products gone on to purchase? Then we look at product recommendations. So in fashion, complete the look the model is also wearing. We want to show similar products to make sure that they convert on that type of product that they're looking at, but then showing complementary products as well. So what does this go well with? And letting that AI machine learning do that heavy lifting. So not needing to go in and manually curate every product that this should go with this, and this, showing things like whether it's recently viewed or personalized to the shopper. So what have they purchased previously? Then what have other shoppers gone on to purchase as well? So if we're talking furniture, it might be complete the room, complete the set. If we're talking with Rip Curl, then it might be like complete the surfing adventure, right? So how do we really get focused on growing that average order value? So with recommendations, what we're really looking for is how can we help shoppers spend longer on site, look at more products, and ultimately add more to cart, convert at a higher level and a higher average order value. If you've got shoppers that come and buy a certain product time and time again, how can you then start to introduce different products to them as well? So that product recommendations piece is key. And as Daniel was saying, being able to have like that cart level upsell as well, that's taking an $80 order to a $100 order each time, right? And when you times that by the number of orders that we're doing every week, that can have a significant impact. And I think particularly going into that peak sales season that's coming up, really looking at how can we get focused on growing that average order value, if it's right for the brand and the types of products, obviously, that are being sold online. And then the last piece of the puzzle, as I mentioned, was then taking that email integration with Klaviyo and being able to then take what shoppers are either searching for or purchasing online and driving those hyper relevant recommendations into that email marketing strategy as well. And again, with a real focus on that conversion and creating those shoppers that are either browsing around into those transacting shoppers, and then how do we create them into those loyal shoppers that keep coming back time and time again, as Ivana was talking about that lifetime value of the shopper. We know Black Friday often triggers a lot of net new shoppers to a site as well as repeat shoppers. So how do we turn those like net new shoppers into repeat shoppers post Black Friday? And that has to be a key part of every Black Friday strategy.
Yeah, definitely. And we've all sort of spoken about this change in consumer behavior that was triggered mainly by the pandemic. I mean, I think there's people who probably never shopped online before who are, now became avid online shoppers. And obviously, because of that, retailers are able to collect large amounts of data about those shoppers, whether they're new or existing, how they're purchasing, what those purchasing habits look like. Ivana, I'd love to know in what ways retailers can use this data going forward. And I guess in relation to what we're talking about with, the sales season coming up and a huge retail season coming up, what ways can, consumers use this data, whether it be reviews or whether it be data that's particularly around audience types, etc.
Yeah, there's during that time, there was an overwhelming of data that was being collected around that time. And for us, we help our clients make sense of the data that they have to work with. And we sort of develop a framework using acquire, grow, and retain to look at the overall customer life cycle journey at a more sort of holistic level, and to just really understand, okay, is this a new customer? Is this a returning customer? How many times has this customer purchased with us? And when we have that sort of clear view of the customer and the different types of customers that we're dealing with, we can really understand and implement some strategies around that to help them grow their customer, but also to nurture as well if they haven't yet purchased. So, we know that it's often more expensive to acquire new customers than it is to really encourage that repeat purchase. So like Kate said, once we've acquired them during Black Friday, how can we really sort of grow that customer during non-sales period, for example? So it's really important to kind of consider that and to find ways to help grow the overall average order value as well. So personalization is a key part of that. And Kate mentioned that earlier as well, how important personalized experience is to really help them feel special and feel like they've got, an easy way to get to the checkout and to get what they want. So in creating that personalized sort of 1 to 2 time buyer journey is important as well. So looking at, previously what they've purchased, and we also have, AI modeling as well to understand what they're more likely going to purchase to. So we incorporate those strategies into the email communications and also any digital marketing campaigns across paid social. We can really try to help increase the overall engagement with the actual content, but also conversion as well. And, with things like reviews and social proof, it really helps boost that overall engagement as well. And we found that clients that include reviews and social proofing in their email content or digital marketing content, it really helps increase the overall engagement and conversion as well for those customers.
Yeah, awesome. That's super insightful. And I hope everyone today who attended has certainly been able to pick up a little bit about how to drive the ultimate customer experience. As we mentioned, in e-commerce, we're coming into the busiest period of the year. So I hope the panelist insights were incredibly helpful. Dan, obviously those insights coming directly from Rip Curl were incredibly helpful. I learned a lot from that, so really, really appreciate it. So I just want to thank everyone for attending. Now, before we go, I haven't had time to go through the chat, obviously, being the host, but I just saw there's like 50 comments. So I haven't had time to be able to pick a winner, but there's a lot of great insights in here. So I might just jump over to you, Anastasia, if that's okay, if you wanted to be able to pick 2 winners from the group. As we mentioned, with those Rip Curl vouchers, you'll be able to use them either online or in store, or a combination of both with an omni-channel experience. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for attending. If you'd like to reach out to any of us, we'll follow up with a bit of an email with our LinkedIn. You can reach out to us and connect with us on LinkedIn or via email, etc., etc. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And Anastasia, I'll pass over to you. Thank you again to the panelists and Anastasia.
Cool. So we had so many entries. I was just reading them all and it was very entertaining. And I started adding some brands to who I need to look up after. But I've chosen 2. The first one is Natalie Wallace. She wrote about her experience with Milk Run. Now, she said she received her order. There was a free chockey inside with a handwritten note by the driver and also a hand-drawn drawing, which, when you're a company that's trying to scale, little things like that sometimes don't become front of mind. So I've also experienced with Milk Run. They're really great. They do keep you updated. So I think that's definitely one we should give the voucher to. So congrats, Natalie. And then the second one is Annabelle with Go-To Skincare. So she said, they've got amazing content, fun and relatable brand voice, reviews, great use of badges on PLP, free samples and rewards. Now, reason I've chosen that is, there's so many little things you can do from a customer experience standpoint, but really customer experience is about the whole brand as well. So from content to reviews to rewards. So that's why we're giving that one to you as well, Annabelle. So I'll contact you both after this session to give you that voucher. Thanks for all your submissions, everyone.